we are all a tornado today. This is just keep going. And speaking of tornadoes, I'm going to be introducing yet another one. We're going to be talking with Amy Bloom next. She's going to talk about Civic gamers. She's all about esports. Honestly, Amy is all about anything where students and educators get an opportunity to grow and learn. So I'm going to turn it over to Amy, where she shares all about esports and being a Civic gamer.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lori. I just want to take a moment and we're going to change things up a little bit. I'm going to be dropping a Nearpod link into the chat right now. If you're unfamiliar with Nearpod, there are several ways that you can join, and I just want to share my screen really quickly. That you do not need to log in if you do not have an account. You can go ahead and join as guest, because I'm a huge believer that it's not a system of me, it's a system of we, and we grow together when we become learners of one another. So if you could take a moment and go ahead, you could join as guest, put your name in there, your optional nickname. Have fun with that. You can, put your gamer tag in there. I'm all about that. And then we'll begin in just one moment. So let me just stop that share, go back to the OG Nearpod here. And just to give you a little bit of background about myself, for those who don't know me, my name is Amy Bloom. I am a technology coordinator for Erie One BOCES. I work with our internal programs. That's our exceptional education, our career and tech, our workforce development. Prior to that, I was at Erie 2, and one of the many hats that I held was being the esports coordinator, basically for the region. I worked with a variety of schools, general managers, coaches, went into the schools and helped our system get off the ground, teaching, working with a variety of individuals, from teachers to coaches to students, to bring esports in the forefront. And what I find very interesting about esports and, getting civic readiness, and going back to Mary Lynn's and Phil, is that you could bring these civic readiness applications into your clubs. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to ground ourselves. We're going to be establishing our why. If you're new to esports, if this is your first time going electronic sports, we're going to dive in very surface level of how you can make that connection to your club, to your team, and not only touching upon that civic mindset, but bringing forth on how we can utilize those digital citizenship skills, not only to develop them within the game, your school, but beyond that into the community, and seeing what jobs actually align to all of this goodness that goes on during your clubs. So let's take a moment. We're actually going to do a little bit of backward planning, and we're going to take a look at what is a portrait of a graduate. So think to yourself, what are these skills and dispositions that you want your students to have when they graduate from your school district? So if you're new to Nearpod, again, you could share your thoughts. This could be a sentence, this could be a paragraph. Let's keep it to one word, and go ahead and share those to the Nearpod here. So I'll give you a moment. What skills and dispositions do you want your students to have when they graduate from your school? Civic mindset, collaborative, critical thinking. And you go ahead and give likes to us, those critical thinkers, those free thinkers, lifelong learners, democratic, discerning, a feeling of agency, innovative, absolutely, those communication skills, empathy, disruptor, absolutely. The ability to transfer knowledge and apply, that problem solver, mature, responsible, able to change their mind. What about mindsets? Looking at different mindsets, different ways they could approach asset-based thinking, listening, active listening. Absolutely. That is a huge skill to develop. So how are we going to take these skills? You could keep them coming in. I'm going to change the slide in a moment. So how could we translate these skills? Because we know when they leave our school, these are the individuals that you want them to be. So let's do some backwards planning. And let's take a look at how these skills and dispositions that you already stated, that you already know that you want your students, and how can we apply that to the use of esports? So again, like I said, I've worked with many districts, many students, many teachers that let me come into each of their classrooms. And again, going back into Phil and Marilyn from earlier, is building that civic mindset and how can we bring this into our clubs? But more than that, back to Steve and Ivy's point, it's creating that ecosystem where they're learning to not only communicate within their clubs and activities, because that's the team, that's the ecosystem that you're building. But when you're branching out and you're competing against schools, it could be your neighborhood school down the street, it could be a school across the world. How are you bringing those same skills and dispositions so our students are adequately able to speak to one another and respect one another, both online and offline? So it goes back to those digital citizenship. What are we using tech for good? And how we can take those skills and dispositions within an esports team, and how we can make individuals that they are alert, they are balanced, they are engaged, they are informed, building that inclusive. And I want to hone in on the inclusivity of an esports environment. How do we make sure that everybody feels included? And then finally, how are they impactors? So before we begin and dive into different ways that we can bring this to the forefront and again, become sharers of one another, I do want to share with you a little story about diving in and taking the whim, going out on a limb and being vulnerable and being a learner in the process, because so many of this for esports, especially in the realm of esports, is new for everybody. So let me take a moment and share with you a process that I went through when I was at Erie 2 working with many districts. So I had this idea that I wanted to teach them that esports is more about competition. It's about the inclusivity. It's about teaching our students to become better people, better citizens, offline and online. To Phil's point earlier, how could we develop a club where everybody ensures that everybody has a place and a voice, and then moving that to how can they connect and communicate effectively, efficiently with individuals that they play against competitively. So a couple of schools, we decided that we were going to start with an in-house competition, playing school against school, just to develop and build upon these skills. And what we discovered and developed was that the students were able to take ownership of their own club and internalize that and develop these those skills that we talked about being communicative, creative, critical thinkers, and apply those into their gaming. So here, at the end of the competition, we got down to 2 schools, and one school went out on a limb, and I was able to come in to show them how to stream. We didn't use Twitch, but I'll share with you an awesome wakelet that I have of all these resources that I share with pretty much everybody in the region. But I came in and we had one student who was like, I want to do shoutcasting. I was like, great. So you want to talk about, developing those skills of communication. Also, I had to tell him, you have to be unbiased. You have your team playing against another school. So how are you going to be able to articulate and tell an audience, share this story of the gaming with having an unbiased approach? So as you see, he was sitting there and the other students were all playing and they were playing the other school. Well, this particular student at this particular school, their team was losing miserably. And he began to throw shade on his own team. But every moment is a learning, and you have to learn to pivot, adapt, and make that teachable and coachable. So the moment I saw him, and he was trying to be funny, and he was throwing so much shade on his own team, I did take a moment and I said, we have to keep in mind that there's an audience out there beyond the 4 players that are playing in front of you. So perception is everything. And we need to take this moment and we need to have that unbiased attitude towards your own team and towards the other team playing, because this is your story. And this is the story that you are now sharing outwardly. So the student adjusted and was able to move on, but we need to give our students these opportunities to learn from their mistakes and to move forward and to take those risks and take those chances, because I don't know about you, but I have never shoutcasted before, and neither has this student. So he already took that risk, became vulnerable, and was able to not only communicate effectively, but the moment that, you know, kids are going to be kids, that was coachable, he readjusted and he moved on. Now, unfortunately for this team, they were so great to work with. They embraced everything. The school district was amazing. They let me come in. Hey, I got this crazy idea. We're going to stream and we're going to do shoutcasting. We're all going to work together and make this a learning opportunity. It's giving those students opportunities. Instead of saying do not, let's say do, and give them and provide them those exemplars and those moments in which they learn and build upon it. And esports will do that for you. So a big part of the esports program, if you're unfamiliar, and when you're developing yours in your school, have those shoutcasters, have those streamers, talk about using technology for good, have your social media strategist that are out there and they're sharing their story of esports and developing those skills. Have those bloggers, those digital, also those digital storytellers where they're taking their team and sharing their story outwardly. And then as a capstone project for your esports community, have them run their own competition. Have them go out, connect schools with one another, and set up those chats. Have them be the moderators of the chat. Have them learn from this experience, because I'm being very cognizant of time. I'm very passionate about this. So I could talk about this forever. What you ultimately want your students to come out of this, and I'm going to skip this slide for a moment, is that you're going to take all those skills and dispositions and the positivity that comes from esports, because so many times there's so much negative connotation surrounding video game and video game playing, but it's actually the team. Take the game out of it. It's the team and the ability to learn from that, and giving those opportunities to use technology for good that delve into all these career paths that just come in from just that one opportunity, that one risk is saying, do not, we're saying, yes, let's do this. And this is a safe place to teach our students to be great digital citizens, but even better, awesome citizens. So if you do have this open, you can click on this link right at the bottom here, and it will show you all these different career paths that are related to esports and branch out by just giving your students that opportunity. Also in the chat, I'm going to share with you a Wakelet. This is a living document, but it's everything from curriculum to having your students use communication marketing, streaming and shoutcasting. I know in New York State, we have that Ed2D law. So Twitch might not be at your forefront, but try Streamlabs, try emulating. You could just use Zoom, giving them those moments that they can just learn from it, even if it's not going anywhere, but within your own school walls. So wellness and social emotional learning, about coaching, league play, gameplay, and on and on and on. Let's break down these walls, give our students those opportunities to learn from one another. And instead of saying, do not, let's teach them to do, but do this through a civic mindset and be great digital leaders for our next generation.
Okay, amen to that. I mean, honestly, I was like, that was it. And I mean, I really hope that we get to showcase for that student showcase this time next year to get some gamers, because this is use tech for good. This is civic readiness. This is being a citizen, a digital citizen, adding all those layers. Like, Amy, I am like fired up about this, because I put in the chat about digital sportsmanship, because I feel like that's so important when you think about like, what are those traits for sportsmanship? We want to have those same traits. That's what coaches want, whether it's on the field or off the field. We want that online. So that's why I put the digital in front of it. But I see my wheels are spinning, Amy. I'm really excited. And I'm so glad that you brought that conversation today. And I can't wait to see where this is going to go. So
I'm excited about it.
Oh, well, thank you. And I know, I can't believe that we actually are staying on time. I hope that this is like, I feel like it is like we're drinking out of like the fire hose, right? A fire, you know, it's fast and furious, but the day was meant to be like inspire, empower, great conversation.